Hey guys, alright, it's Brett from Iron Body Martial Arts here. We're on a channel on YouTube, focuses mainly on old style traditional martial arts and conditioning training, endurance and toughness training, and a bit of things like that. Been here on YouTube for about 10 years, so I did a video, which was a video response to Martial Arts Journey channel's video about fake ninjas exposed, and it was a look at the Bujinkan. And I did a video about it that for my channel got some alright views, a couple of thousand views, and quite a lot of comments, you know, because it's quite a emotive subject, you know, different styles of martial arts, what works, what doesn't. So today I was going to go through and have a look at some of the comments on that video, and yeah, just have a run through them and see what people have said, because people have said some awesome stuff. The reason I made the video is because I actually trained in Bujinkan for a number of years. I got to black belt, so yeah, I had a bit more of an opinion than old Rokas did from Martial Arts Journey, and that was the gist of my video. I'm doing this today because I'm kind of recovering from cold and flu, so I've just been around all day doing not a lot, so I thought I'd do this video. And we'd have a look. So excuse me if I have to cut it short or something. It's probably because I need to cough or my lungs just don't feel good. But let's have a go. As always, if people come in, they can chuck their comments on here. If you've seen the video, hopefully you've seen the video. Otherwise, this might not mean a lot to you. But anyway, it's a video response, two-part video response that I did to his critical look at the Bujinkan. And again, nothing personal on the guy, was my 2 cents. So let's see what people have had to say about that. Fateful Brawl came on the video. This got a lot of replies actually. This one, he just says, I don't know, I do not. Oh, it just says, I don't know. You've taken a far more practical look at it than he did. Yep. Let's see the 21 replies on that one. Oh yeah, this has opened up a bag of worms here. So within that comment, someone said, Max Zauer said, this person has no fighting videos where he actually fights. Martial Arts Journey actually fights. So Max Zhao's got a good point. This person, I presume he's talking about me. That's a funny one. So yeah, to Max I'd say, well, Martial Arts Journey, by his own admission, spent 15 years not training his martial art properly, not being a warrior, not being a fighter. But that's by his own admission. You know, so once again, nothing personal to the guy, and if dealing with people on the streets as a 11 years police officer or something like that, if that's not fighting, then I don't know what fighting is. So that's a good point, but good point by Sax. I think I did say that to Max, and he said, oh, fair enough points. So there we go. And that opens up to a whole nother topic, and I think recently old what's his face's channel, Fight Commentaries, I think it's called Fight Commentaries channel, did a video on it. You know, I think it's called something like MMA isn't fighting, or you know, the ring isn't fighting, and you know, it's a good point. So, Abdul Rashid's here. He says it seems he cares only about money and publicity. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a good point. Like I said, the point of these videos isn't to try and slate the guy. Because yeah, lots of, you know, we've all watched him for a while. We've all watched him for some years, or he's been on there, and everyone's kind of respected what he was doing with his like journey through martial arts. But now that he's got to a certain point in his martial arts journey, he suddenly turned around and started firing venom at everything else and everyone else. I don't know if it's trying to come to terms with all the time that he wasted. But like I said to him in my original video response, is that it's not our fault that you spent 15 years not being a warrior, not being a true Budoka, and not training and not testing your art. That's not our fault. Sensei Emmett's here. Oh, Sensei Emmett says, when are you coming on the podcast? Yeah, mate, sorry. Sorry, I've got a bit of cold and flu. Yeah, mate, we'll sort that out. We'll sort that out. A guy here, Hilo Howe, he says, for me, childhood was rural Hawaii in the 80s. I was obsessed with martial arts, and ninjutsu was very popular. There was a big ninja boom in the 80s. Later on, I was involved in judo, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, and football. He founded one of America's first mixed martial arts clubs. A ninjutsu group showed up, and they tried their hand in the cage. They wore full ninja gi down to the tabi boots, and weren't initially taken seriously. I want to read more. Even though they were competitive until their head instructor went 5-0 in American Shooto MMA competition. Okay. I trained with them for a few years and was granted sensei rank in taijutsu. Many years later, a guy showed up to my gym talking about Bujinkan, and I was not familiar. After looking up Bujinkan online, it was kind of difficult to accept it because it seemed so hokey. Fake no-touch masters, blah blah blah. Theatrical techniques. It goes on and talking about... Yeah, so it just goes on talking about how he didn't like ninjutsu back in the 80s. To be fair, if some guys turned up at any dojo of mine dressed up like ninjas and stuff like that, I wouldn't take them seriously either. It doesn't even sound like these were even Bujinkan guys, but they could have easily been. Yeah, because Bujinkan guys do that. I've seen them do that. Anyway, let's go on to some other comments because that one's going on forever. Pantopia says, I respect martial arts journey quite a lot. He does seem to try hard to be fact-based, yeah, but his views are undeniably coloured by his experience in Aikido. He trained for many years and learned nothing effective. He's quick to view other traditional martial arts in the same way. He's still smart enough, and it's worth watching his videos and thinking about what he has to say. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just a shame he let himself down with that one. The Hermetic Hermit says, I always appreciate your input. I watched his videos sometimes. Seems like a real nice guy, but I do find myself groaning and rolling my eyes too. It's a symptom of medium clickbait gets. Oversimplification appears to the lowest common denominator. Well, there we go. That's Hermetic Hermit's opinion. Let's see what some of the guys are saying here. Sensei Emmett says, what would you recommend for palm bag filling? I'm currently using rice, but is there a better option? Abdul, what are some of the alternatives to Joe? Sensei Emmett, one of the Patreon guys. Thanks for joining in. Mung beans. Mung beans are the classic filling, the little green mung beans. They are the classic iron palm bag filling. So if you can get yourself some mung beans, you chuck that in there. Kenzai Journeyman, I'm sure he's someone I see on here quite a bit, says, Bujinkan, as you mentioned, is a style where based on observation is about evasion and escapes, as not all ninja were samurai, but farmers and peasants, humbly speaking. When combined with a style like Muay Thai, that practitioner has more grappling skill in his arsenal, as well as more weapons training. What I like about the style is the emphasis on ukemi. The art of rolling and falling, in my opinion, is crucial, especially in a street situation, as well as fundamental weapons training, which in my opinion, many martial arts schools doesn't teach until black belt. This is dangerous, though, as today's society has grown more violent, especially in the States. Quite honestly, I don't understand why someone would produce content on something without practicing the art. You don't know a man until you walk in his shoes. So yeah, there's Kensai Journeyman's look at it. Yeah, who knows what the ninja were or weren't. There's lots of people who study that. Sorry. Just getting over the cold, guys. Ukemi is very good, actually. Yeah, that's a nice part of traditional arts of flexibility and ukemi. They do it also in like judo, BJJ, and normal jiu-jitsu. You know, you do lots of sort of rolling and stuff like that, and it really does help. There's a couple of times where I've fallen to the floor in like scraps or just fallen to the floor running or whatever, and ukemi, which is rolling training and different ways of moving on the ground, has prevented me from getting more serious injuries. So yeah, ukemi training is good. And then there we go. It's another thing, you know, if all the kids coming up, if they get sort of dissuaded from doing any of these traditional styles or giving them a go, they can miss out on little things like that, you know, that can help them. Matilda says she's a former Bujinkan practitioner from Colombia. She says the Bujinkan should allow sparring, because there are so many techniques in Bujinkan that will work very good in sparring and allow students to train the reactions under pressure. Yeah. She says the Bujinkan philosophy is a bit retrograde, and they don't allow for more realistic training. However, she learned some useful stuff. Yeah, good point. I think it's left to each individual dojo, but there's so many different dojos. Like with other martial arts, everyone does different things. Not even everyone within the organization can agree what they're meant to be doing, especially now. But yeah, sparring is good. It's difficult in a traditional jiu-jitsu context. Probably Bujinkan stuff's probably more best suited, as we spoke about, to like flow rolling and then like HEMA style, like weapon combat stuff, which is probably what it's more best suited to, getting benefits from that, you know. And then maybe some just normal, you know, at the side, people can do some normal sort of kicking and punching stuff just to get used to, you know, a bit of normal sort of karate style, or kickboxing style stuff. I don't know. Chameleon59 says, thank you for making the video. I'm a Bujinkan student and what you say makes sense. I used to value the other channel's opinion until he made that video. Yeah, it was a bit of a ball drop by Martial Arts Journey there. I don't know, he seems to have gone off tangent. Good old Rashid Martial Arts, who's on here now, says, I noticed quite a number of pages on YouTube and Facebook have been exposing ninjutsu in the Bujinkan. Yeah, well, that's why I made, forgive me, cold. That's why I made this video, because there's so much exposing going on. It's a bit like the exposing of Steven Seagal, you know, like there's this big mainstream view about exposing Steven Seagal, and you know, a lot of the old school guys and old school jiu-jitsu and whatever, you know, have respect for Steven Seagal. You know, they know his budo. There's some decent jiu-jitsu channels and stuff on YouTube as well. People who've kind of trained with Steven Seagal and stuff like that. And yeah, there's just everyone got onto this modern narrative of like traditional martial arts don't work. Let's diss on Steven Seagal as well. And you know, actually, he's a very you know, true practitioner of Budo. You know, as ridiculous as he's kind of become and some of the things he's done. You know, now. Draken Silver says it's really sad to see how he researched about Bujinkan. So yeah, there's quite a lot of people here who seem to enjoy Martial Art Journey's channel, and are kind of a bit let down by, you know, like, we're not dumb. You know, I watch the channel. We're not dumb. You know, we're not stupid. Don't sit there and tell us you're looking at something critically when you're just having a little tinker on YouTube. You know. You know, maybe it might not be the best martial art, but, you know, don't try and sell us short. You know, we're not saying it's the best. Sensei Emmett, as a jiu-jitsu guy, we spar as much as possible. You get familiar with being slammed onto the mat and tied up like a pretzel. Sparring, yeah, sparring's fun, I agree, man. Rashid says, Regan Machido told me that Segal is very knowledgeable about the Japanese martial arts. Of course he is. That was back in 2012 when you could personally message others on YouTube. Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. He's a proper budoka. Lewis Barnett here says he didn't look at the work of people like Simon Yu, Bujinkan instructor Roger Gracie, BJJ black belt, who I've actually been speaking to online, and fighter Enzo Inoue, who classes Bujinkan as his core art. Both Simon and Enzo regard BJJ as adding skills to their Bujinkan. This person does both, Lewis Barnett. He'd been doing Bujinkan for over 10 years and got into it because of uni. He did Jiu-Jitsu Foundation, Jiu-Jitsu, and Bujinkan was similar art and was culturally something he was into. He has a master's in Asian studies, that's awesome. He also trains BJJ, he's a blue belt and loving the ride. Like Simon and Enzo said, it's another skill set. So there we go. You know, are people missing out? If they're ignorant, are they missing out? Because, you know, we've got Lewis Barnett here, who's a blue belt in BJJ. I've also been training BJJ, and he did Bujinkan, and he's not, he's not sort of claiming it's fake and false, and you know that's a continuing trend. You know, this isn't like a stand up for Bujinkan video, but it's just me reading people's comments. But you know, I'll read both. People who agree. Froggy says great video, couldn't agree more. Joseph Wilson, the old ways work as well and can hurt, like the saying, old school. Yeah. Here we go. Water Dog says, like Rocker said, I wouldn't have a problem with Bujinkan if it presented itself like capoeira as some traditional martial art about preserving history and tradition. But it made a lot of promises about training effective self-defense. It's just the same as Shotokan Karate School making those claims while only teaching kata forms. I see Daitoryu Aiki Jiu-Jitsu, but the teacher allowed sparring and the higher ranked students could demonstrate that the technique worked by applying techniques on you even if you were fully resisting. I've seen Daito, right? Well, there we go. That's Water Dog's opinion on that. I wouldn't call capoeira traditional martial art though, but we get where you're coming from. A lot of people don't like the fact that Bujinkan's saying it's like you can use it for self-defense. But yeah, I mean, you can. Is it better? Is it any better self-defense than doing boxing or kickboxing or something like that? It's certainly different. It's certainly a hell of a lot different. Do the principles of Budo defend you in a way that those other things don't or can't? Who knows? What do you think? There's a lot of good principles in jiu-jitsu training and traditional jiu-jitsu training, like defensive postures, covering, maybe stuff that you wouldn't. What else? Like threat assessment and body cues and stuff like that. Maybe stuff that you blade stances. Maybe stuff that you wouldn't be particularly training in sort of boxing and kickboxing because you're already in the fight. So that's I think why jiu-jitsu sells itself as helping for the traditional arts, helping for self-defense. So yeah, I get what Water Dog's saying. You know, like when you're in the fight, boxing, kickboxing, and all those things are awesome because that's what they're designed to do. But there's a lot of fight before the fight, and then we're talking weapons, which is a point I've raised on a lot of videos because people have got good points here about Bujinkan and sparring and stuff like that. But then when you talk about weapons, you know, if you're not training weapons and those things, and someone comes at you with a weapon and you don't have an idea of how to deal with it, you know, you might as well have done some Bujinkan or traditional jiu-jitsu, because we just saw recently in fight commentary fight commentary channel, you know, he did a video where an MMA guy was doing some knife defense stuff, and it shows how, you know, if you don't train those kinds of skills, you know, that it doesn't cross over all the time. So yeah, it goes back to that adage of fighting and fighting. You know, real fighting and ring fighting are like this strange separate thing. They should be the same, but they're not. From my opinion, from my experience in the police, I can tell you that they're not. Like sparring someone is harder and easier at the same time than fighting someone in real life. It's just totally different. It's weird. Hold on a minute. I'm getting bombarded with messages here from my wife. What's she after? Okay, let's go back to our comments. But yeah, good points by Water Dog there. Good points. You know, it's again, you know, I see there's a lot of people on the comments for the Bujinkan and stuff and traditional jiu-jitsu saying, you know, they don't like the fact that these things is touting themselves as self-defense, you know, Krav Maga and this and that. And you know, they can understand like fighting in a ring, and they're like, yeah, that's self-defense. And then, you know, this Krav Maga and stuff like that, and Bujinkan, when you're not sparring, they're like, they can't see that that's self-defense. But like I said, and a lot of people who are actually involved in like combat or sports or so combat or self-protection will tell you, you know, there's a lot of precursors to fighting. There's another channel with a young lad, is it Fight Perfect TV or something? No, not Fight Perfect TV. A young lad, Fight Test TV or something like that. I forget the name. Sorry, mate. I forget the name of his channel. But you know, he does Krav Maga and stuff, and he talks a lot about these similar topics. Albeit I don't know if he has any actual experience in them, other than martial arts. But in other words, like he's really good. He talks about all the impact factors and awareness and cues, body cues, but I don't think he has any like on-the-job experience of them, you know. Like he's not a policeman or a security guard or anything like that. But all the stuff he's saying is right, you know. So that's good. It shows it's being transmitted to him through his martial art in a good way. Let's see what comments we got. Do you think there is a lot you practice just for enjoyment, Sensei Emmett, that would be applicable in your profession, or should everything have a practical purpose? And Abdul Rashid says, fight Manjit, fight smart. That's a good point for Sensei Emmett. He's like, you know, he's saying, you know, is there part of the martial arts that you study just for enjoyment, or is it all got to be applicable in the police? Well, it's a good point. I think every part of, it's a good point. I don't know, that's a good question. I mean, I think every part of your martial art is whatever you want it to be. Like, for instance, Qi Gong and strength and conditioning training and conditioning, you know, and doing the iron palm and the bags, you could say, oh, well, you know, it's enjoyment and it's health and it's but then those things making you tougher, increasing your longevity, increasing your flexibility, they affect your day-to-day life, which will affect your job, which affects your survival, which affects your ultimate martial art. So the kind of holistic view of traditional martial arts, of you're not just practicing fighting, you're practicing longevity, you're trying to, you know, do the best things for your body, strength and flexibility. You know, it's a big circle. So I don't practice I don't practice even when I'm doing the jabbing of the fingers and the crysting in the sand and stuff like that, palm of red sand. It's kind of all it's all practicable for. Sorry, I've got a bit of flu. It's all practicable for real, the real life. But it's a good point. What do you guys think? You know, should, you know, if I don't know, but you know, yeah, good point. I was gonna say, if you're a policeman or whatever, or said, should all your training be applicable training that you can use? Well, probably. But it's no good if, excuse me, if you blow out your knee or you hurt your back. Okay, sorry, excuse me there. I got another message, and then there's a that's just from my missus. Yeah, got kind of like a man flu or something. Been off work for a day or two, because yeah, you know, cold and flu symptoms. I'm on quite a few tablets at the moment. Just wanted to do something because I've been lying down doing nothing all day, so I just wanted to make a video or talk to someone. Or okay, let's see. Mandalorian Patriot. Patriot says, is this particular art useful? Yes, no. It greatly depends on your mindset, your level, etc. Bujinkan is definitely an art you have to be calm and relaxed in order to use effectively. Any sword art, east or west. Yeah, good point by Mandalorian Patriot. Wait, let me go back to the video. Oh, and that's another good point by Mandalorian Patriot, because one of the first things you learn in like traditional jiu-jitsu, I say traditional jiu-jitsu, but I include Bujinkan in that. One of the first things you learn in good traditional jiu-jitsu or judo or something like that, or even BJJ, is to kind of like relax. And sometimes that can, and again, this is this thing about the fight before the fight. Sometimes that that can kind of kill a fight situation, you know. And the Japanese talk about it a bit poetically, about like controlling people's minds and stuff like that. But it's kind of controlling intent, controlling fear. And I'll tell you, this worked for me one day, because I used to collect glasses in a bar, you know, and everyone was a lot older than me. Fat Cat Cafe Bar in Llandudno in North Wales, and everyone was older than me. I was just about like 17, 18. And you know, everyone in that bar, it was like a trendy bar back in the days when you could smoke in a bar. I always used to smell like an ashtray. It's terrible. But you know, I used to collect people's collect glasses. I always used to have like blue knuckles and freaking cut hands from training so much. Sorry, I got a cold. And every now and then I get cut by the glasses too. But anyway, back to the jiu-jitsu part of the story. One day, when I grabbed this guy's glass, and he grabbed my arm like really tight with like lots of strength, you know, and he kind of pulled it like this, and he looked at it, and he's like, had a really angry face, like, you know, like a fight face like this, you know, and he's like, what the fuck, you know, what do you think you're doing, you know, and he's like this up in my face. And of course, I'd been studying at least a couple of years of traditional jiu-jitsu at this point, and it's funny because what we always used to be taught back then was that if someone, I mean, the first thing you learn in jiu-jitsu is the wrist grabs. And everyone always goes, no one grabs your wrist. No one grabs your wrist. And then here's this real life situation where someone's just grabbed my wrist. And the best thing about it is, when you first go to the martial arts class, you know, when someone grabs your wrist or your arm, you're like, oh, you know, oh no, I'm getting caught, I'm getting grabbed, I'm caught, I can't. But then as you learn the jiu-jitsu, they quickly tell you that, oh, grabbing your arms is the best thing someone can do, because then you know exactly what they're gonna do, because you've got that person-to-person connection with tension. You can feel what they're gonna do as long as you don't tense up yourself, and then ultimately you can control them. But the main thing is, a weapon of theirs is covered. Yeah, because a lot of the traditional jiu-jitsu principles are all about like covering weapons and angles and triangles and circles. So it's actually great, you know, if someone grabs your arm, you know categorically they can't use that arm against you now. because it's on your arm. The moment they let it go, you're going to feel it. You'll feel it, and you can go with it. You can, you can do whatever. So anyway, back to this story. So this guy grabs my arm, and he's like that in my face, and I just relaxed, and I could feel the tension in this guy, and I was like, man, if this guy tries to do anything, if he pushes or pulls or tries to strike, I'm gonna be able to feel it. So yeah, and then I just looked at him. I was like, man, what are you doing? And that sort of calmness and the relaxed feeling of my arm, like, just totally like de-escalated the situation, because this guy was like, oh, he was just like deflated by it. He was like, oh, what's going on? But ultimately, for me, the cool point was, he grabbed my arm and pulled it, and I was like, oh yeah, well, I've got that arm covered. If he tries to do anything with this arm, I've got this hand. I've got my hand free. I'll stop him at the shoulder. I'll give him a headbutt or something like that. So obviously you keeping your chin down and stuff when people grab you, so you don't get headbutted in the nose. But that's a simple thing of just how staying relaxed can help you, with one hand and an armful of glasses, can help you like put yourself in a beneficial position. So yeah, that's the sort of stuff that doorman and security service and stuff like that and traditional jiu-jitsu kind of go into. You don't get that sort of stuff, in sort of sport combat stuff, unless the instructor's done some self-defense or is a bit of a fighter or a brawler, and he has a awareness for what goes on before the conflict starts. Anyway, back to these comments. Have we had any other comments? But yeah, awesome point by Mandalorian Patriot. You have to be calm. Yeah. Because the moment you start being not calm, your fine motor skills go out the window. We all know that. Okay. Pedro Pozzi Ferrari says, great job. He watched Fake Ninjas Exposed, and he's been really disappointed about the cheap methodology that is used by Rokas. If we can say that his critical view based on Wikipedia and Google results is a methodology, I'm happy to see your video. Going to see part 2. Oh, excellent. I'll give that one a heart. I didn't see that one before. Dominic Grangrus. Thank you for your video. Very good point of view. And in my Bujinkan dojo, we train with resistance, and we want to include more sparring and more intense fighting and protections. So there we go. That's good. So you actually have, and that's another thing, like the amount of people on this video who are from Bujinkan dojos who've come forward and said, oh, well, actually we do this, and we do sparring, and we do this. So it's a shame that these guys don't get a voice. They don't get to speak up, because also there's a lot of crappy Bujinkan online, but there was also a culture in the Bujinkan and in traditional jiu-jitsu called shut up and train. And it's even in the groups, the online groups. I approached the online groups, Bujinkan groups, and I said, look guys, you guys are getting trashed online. Does anyone want to come on my channel? Some of the old guys I used to train with, but they're like high up, so that they wouldn't remember me. Well, they might remember me or talk to me, but I said this, and some of the people, and I kind of put to them like, do you guys want to come on the channel and just have a bit of a chat and put some stuff forward? I mean, they've all got individual channels, but the problem is it's all like out of context. So I said, you don't want to come and have a chat, and I got a few people who come forward and said they would. I've just got to sort it out. But the majority of them are still in that like old school mindset of just like shut up and train. They've been doing it for years, and they just rather keep training than waste their time online. Some of them are some of them though are like some of them don't want to confront the fact that they're also hiding behind a lot of untested stuff. So that's also a part. There's a lot of good guys out there who test themselves, but there's also a lot of people living in the clouds. Don't get me wrong. As with all traditional martial arts, there's cloud warriors. You got to watch out for them. Dexter Brown says, I wouldn't say they are fake, but they are not the genuine article. What I mean is, the little bit of ninjutsu they knew, they combined it with other stuff to fill in the holes in their training and made their own synthesis. So yeah, there we go. That's from Dexter Brown. I presume he's talking about the Bujinkan and saying it's fake. Yeah, that's there's a lot of people who think that, and that the Takamatsu Den is like all fake and made up. Personally, I'd say, having seen the techniques, they're at least I mean, who cares about ninja stuff? No one cares about that. That's, you know, no one. There's no such thing as ninjas, like how everyone thinks, and lots of channels have covered that. But my interest is it actual samurai jujitsu, and I would say that the scrolls that are within Bujinkan are not made up, so they're actual samurai jujitsu from the, you know, the I don't know, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th century, wherever it's from, at least from the 16th century or whatever. So as long as that part of it's genuine, then you're practicing samurai martial arts, or you're practicing an actual traditional martial art. The techniques are just too, and you know, and when you put armor on, they work in a better way or in a different way, you know. So, and they, you know, and it all fits, you know. It's like you read a technique from the scroll, and it's like, oh, how does this work? Then you train it in armor, and it works even better, and the throw works, and the weight distribution. So it's not, you know. So to that regard, yeah, I've never, the whole ninja thing, like, you know, I've never been interested in that. So sorry sort of ninja guys who think that they're studying ninpo and jumping around and fighting like ninja warriors. Like, I've never believed in that. Even within the Bujinkan, I've never believed in that. But my main interest is it samurai jujitsu, and I think it is. So, you know, it seems to be good samurai jujitsu, or samurai jujitsu of an equal quality to other traditional jujitsu schools. Robert Bingley says, I like your video. It's tough to bring many of these points to outsiders in an understandable way. Many individuals in the Bujinkan aren't necessarily skilled at transitioning the lessons into workable material. It's a difficult thing and can be found in many martial arts. It can be difficult to apply lessons you learn in training if there's too many variables. I think people only see lunge punch and feel like it's bullshit. That's that flat punch that they do. He trains Bujinkan and can't disagree with that observation. Yeah, so it's the old school training ways, you know, which I spoke about in the video. You know, it's the cutters basically. They're just cutters, and that's how you train the traditional jujitsu. And it's like, well, is it better to keep it to that? You see, it's a mixed bag, because it's like actually the people who keep it to that are more authentic than the people who are changing it. So they shouldn't be, as long as they know as long as they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they're clear with that, they should be less, you know, it should be people studying Katori Shinto-ryu and the Musashi Miyamoto schools of swordsmanship. They should be more respected than the people who are changing it. Because if you change it, it then becomes like a modern version of a self-defense art, and they're trying to do that. But if you keep it the traditional, then you're at least studying the traditional art. Then people get to differentiate between which one, you know, are they doing a modern, are they doing a traditional? So I guess that's a complaint. That people make. Is that when you get this grey area, you got Bujinkan schools or traditional jiu-jitsu schools saying that they do self-defense, but then the instructor's still using those old like lunge style punches. And it's funny, I've actually used that lunge punch in a Muay Thai spar with a Muay Thai fighter, who's going to do his first semi-professional fight in Belgium at Day's Workout Gym. The instructor there was Bjorn. His name's Bjorn. So Day's Workout Gym in Ypres in Belgium. If anyone wants to like contact them and ask Bjorn. So I fought one of his Muay Thai fighters, and I actually used that lunge punch. But of course, I didn't use it like, I didn't stand there and go like this. We were sparring, I was moving, and I gave him 2 left jabs with that extended lunge punch style, and it, you know, it's a very long punch with the body, so it, you know, broke through his guard, and then I did 2, and it broke his guard and pushed him back. And then I did a final one, so I shimmied like a crab 3 times. I went 1, 2, 3, and it actually got him under the chin and pushed, and it pushed him off it pushed him off his feet. He fell, he rolled backwards. He completely destabilized and thrown off his feet. And then my brothers called him the Flying Dutchman, because he got knocked off his feet. And that was just in a spar, with, you know. And obviously, if that had been, yeah, well, not that a fight would have happened that way, but if that would have been real, with that punch connecting to the bottom of his jaw, or the traditional techniques actually done with the palm heel, and just slam it into the bottom of the jaw like this, in an upward motion, yeah, that guy's teeth would have been, that guy would have been messed up. So so yeah, there we go. But again, like martial arts journey fell foul of, you know, if you do an obscure martial art or a traditional martial art, you need to know why you're doing it. You need to be honest with yourself. Sorry, it's my throat. And you need to sort of sort out the loopholes. You need to, you know, you need to work at it yourself. You know, don't do traditional old style jiu-jitsu, and then think it'll apply in the modern situations without any kind of modification. Some randori, some free sparring, some wrestling, some flow rolling, and some real searching. You know, like, it's up to the martial artist, it's up to me and you to search. It's not given to us on a plate. Just because something's told to you doesn't mean your body applies it. It takes years of hard work and learning to do these things. You know, boxing, kickboxing, whatever. All these martial arts, MMA, it takes years to learn the craft. You know, you have to know your craft. Let's see what we got. Abdul says, excellent point. I think he meant, I was talking about the distinction between the martial art types. Mandalorian Patriot says, and I honestly am of the opinion it's the samurai version of Shinobi no Mono. But that's getting into what a ninja is, and that definitely depends on whom you ask. But I mean, Hanzo was a samurai. Yeah, they're all samurai. I think that's the general consensus now. I believe from people researching. I mean, I'm not big on the, because I was never into the ninja boom. I was always interested in samurai, traditional jiu-jitsu. So even when I practiced Bujinkan, I was practicing it as a samurai art. I never bought into all the ninja shit. So, you know, apologies to all the people who believe in that stuff. That's fine. You know, that's cool. But I just wanted the martial arts, basically. You know, like, with all due respect. And when people started talking to me about ninja, they started doing weird walks and stuff like that, I was interested. And those things are genuine techniques that were used by, like, insurgents of the day, and all the methods and walking and movement had some interesting applications. But if it fell outside of the remit of martial arts, I wasn't very much interested, personally. But martial arts is broad, because martial arts can be survival. Martial arts can be, you know, being able to run away from the enemy and survive in the bush, you know, that militaristic style. Some guys who trained it back in the day had military history, and they used to do little camps and stuff, and people used to do that. I was never involved in those, but hey, they probably didn't do any much harm, but there's a lot to learn, yeah. Tong Il Martial Arts and Swordsmanship says, that's interesting to hear your take on Bujinkan. My whole opinion is that obviously there are some skilled martial artists at the head. Who cares who their teacher was, as long as it's effective. I always assumed your background was either Shotokan or Goju. Have you worked them any? Yeah, I used to do Shotokan as a kid. And I did study Goju Ryu for a brief time in North Wales. And one of my mates was Goju Ryu guy, so we used to do some cross-training. I know you do torsion bar training, but do you think you'd consider making a video covering your view of swordsmanship? Here in Arizona, I actually can legally EDC a tanto. I think that's like carry one. So it's not it's not out of the realm of realism. Oh, well, that's cool. And then there's a bit more of a discussion between him and Kenzai Journeyman, asking his opinion on Bujinkan. He says it's applicable, but not for the cage. Yeah, 100%, man. Although there was an early UFC fighter from Genbukan, who won one of the UFCs kind of by default, but that was back in the day. But yeah, ringcraft. Ringcraft now is a completely different thing. You know, you can't fight in a ring if you haven't trained any ringcraft. Well, you can, but you're probably gonna get beaten, no matter who you are. Now that's interesting. He talks about swordsmanship, because I've made very few videos about the sword. And recently, you might have seen I put a video up about me cutting a cardboard box. And the reason I don't make videos about me doing the sword is because the sword community is as vicious and as sharp as the blades that they carry. And the moment you do anything with the sword, they come out and get you. I mean, years ago, I did a free video of me using the sword, and some guy who just came and destroyed me, some guy who said he trained with Manaka Sensei or something, he just came on my video and destroyed me. I was just some guy messing around with a sword. And I was like, man, well, these are the techniques I was taught, and I'm kind of chained them together, so, you know, and he was like, rah, and he just destroyed me. So ever since then, I'm just weary about the sword. But even in my box cut video that I put, which was me pissing around, people were kind of picking at that a bit. And I was just like, well, fair enough, but I was just like, man, I'm just cutting a box like an idiot. Don't take it seriously. But there's an interesting point in that, is that an eagle-eyed viewer who wasn't trying to be he wasn't trying to make a big deal, or he was a good guy, but an eagle-eyed viewer picked up on the way I was holding the sword, which was I'm just trying to think of the difference now, because I'm a bit tired and goofed on bloody flu medication. What was the difference? I'm trying to remember now. Oh, yes, that's what it was. So he noticed that I was holding the sword like this instead of like this. Yeah? So in other words, my hands were together instead of like this. And I just said to him in a reply, he was like, yeah, you don't hold the sword like that, you know, and he was telling me how you hold it like this, and you pull and you push. And I was like, well, yeah, good points, but I said, you know, I tried to cunningly say, now, I have trained the samurai sword for also a number of years, so, and that is the first way you're taught how to chop with the sword. So I did say to him, do you therefore think there's a reason I'm holding the sword like that, if it's obviously wrong? Because I should know that, shouldn't I? And he was like, yeah. And then I replied to him, I said, what if I was to say tachi waza to you? So tachi waza, other than being a throw in judo, is the method of using the tachi, the larger katana. And I think he got the gist of what I was saying. Tachi waza. And actually recently I found a Japanese channel that was using this grip that I used after my video. So so it was good, because I can now reference that video. But so tachi waza. So what was it in the end? Why was I holding the sword like this? Well, the tachi had a shorter tang to the handle. Yeah, it didn't have a full tang in the handle. It, you know, because it was often wielded also one-handed. So when you look at old block prints and old historical prints of a lot of samurai using the sword, they're using it like this with the hands together, and it actually creates, if you try it with your katana, it creates a completely different way of like using the sword, and kind of connects it to the hips more. It's for the sword that weighs a little bit more, but also, if you can imagine, if I've got a sword with tang finishes halfway through the handle and I'm holding the bottom. If I chop something, I'm gonna break it. You know, with leverage, it's going to smash, it's going to break. So that's another reason why they used to hold it together like this, is because when they hit, they were holding the bit that had the metal inside and stopped the handle from shattering. So anyway, even though I was holding a katana, I was holding it with the feeling of a tachi, and that's why I was holding the sword like that. Yeah, which is a very historic thing, and it doesn't mean a lot to anyone, but that's the reason. You can look into it, you can go and do some deep diving, and you'll see that it's an actual thing. And you'll see that those points are true, or at least have some merit. But yeah, anyway, sorry about that. That was me going on about something. Mandalorian Patriot says, Hojutsu and Suijutsu come in mind, cannons and swimming in armor, military arts. I have modern military books on the subject of stealth, etc., and the knowledge isn't too different from Togakuri. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I'm getting a bit cold out here now. Tonight I might have to... My flu is defeating me. But yeah, so Tongyil martial arts and swordsmanship and meditation. Maybe we will do some more swordsmanship videos if people don't slaughter me so much. I used to train sword quite a lot, but you know, I don't train it as much now. But I do train you know, the 4-foot staff, and I use it a bit kind of Musashi style, where I'll sometimes use it like a sword, sometimes use it like a staff, so that I'm getting a bit of practice at both, you know, Budo style. Norman95 says, all martial arts brag sometimes until someone punches their face so hard they can't do anything. I like that. It's a good point. That's funny. Oh wait, oh no, you need to go off the video. Okay, what else we got? Another Andrew Benton says, great video, great explanation. Bujinkan and Aikido are very different, and this guy's trained both of them. Enough to get the idea that they're fundamentally different. Yeah, I've had a good few, a couple of lessons of Aikido myself, and yeah, it's a difficult art, because Aikido is a representation of someone at the absolute top level of Jiu-Jitsu. So it's like trying to learn like master equation, or it's like trying to learn like top level maths, you know, when you don't know low level maths, straight up. I mean, you could learn it, you kind of figure it out, but you know, it's like every move is like a big equation. You know, it's like all the footwork, all the nuances, the fluidity, the rhythm, the timing, you know, even from the first moves that you do. And that throw where you kind of turn around and throw someone, and you know, you turn their arm and you know, you step into it. It's very complicated, because Moeri Ushiba, who invented it, was a freaking lifelong jiu-jitsu practitioner. So he just did jiu-jitsu with like godlike fluidity, godlike what's the word, rhythm, timing, you know, capturing the kind of feeling of the opponent. And when I say feeling, I don't mean like mystical feeling. I mean like their rhythm, timing, their momentum, all those things in one, you know, which you can't, you know, they are tangible, but you know, that all those actions in one. So he would capture the rhythm and the timing at the correct moment, you know, and throw them at when the sweet spot of the balance was just perfect, and made it look like magic, you know. And obviously there was also a bit of like old style martial arts, Japanese respect, you know, because he was an old guy, you know, so no one's going to go start throwing like headbutts and kicks and punches at him. So, but yeah, so that's why Aikido's hard. You know, train Aikido like a young man and then train it like an old man. It was taught by an old man. That's another problem with Bujinkan. Bujinkan, you know, is taught by now an older man, you know, who trained it differently when he was young, but people learning it now train it, they try and copy him, but he's an old man. You know, they should train like they're young. you know, and then when they're old, they can move. That's the biggest problem in Bujinkan, is people standing upright, and in a lot of traditional jiu-jitsu are not moving a whole lot, trying to copy like the masters and do as little as possible, and it's just bad, you know. And that's when yeah, it gets a thumbs up. That's when someone will come along, some fighter, and just knock your head off, because you've been training with people and you've been like in your own ego, moving like this little stupid movements, you know. You know, if you don't practice the big proper movements, you're not, you know, your small movements will never be powerful or applicable. I'm sure you jiu-jitsu guys will know that. Mandalorian Patriot, here's your comment. 1 month ago, martial arts journey is basically just mad. His Aikido sensei didn't teach him proper Aikido and projects that misunderstanding onto other arts without realizing Aiki concepts are in all Japanese arts at some level. Yes, they are. Including Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, yes, because they're one and the same. As Aikido comes from Daito Ryu Jiu-Jitsu, yes it does. Not gonna say I understand the principles fully myself. I've only accidentally used it a few times on instinct and had it used on me. But I know it's not supposed to be mystic in nature, at least not like the West views it. Yep. It's just because the Japanese are poetic. People forget Japanese belief are a melding of physical and spiritual world, whereas the West at some point separated the two. Yep, 100%. I think on your point near the end about crap martial artists, I remember years ago a video claiming a ninjutsu student versus BJJ, I think it was, and about the only thing we knew about the ninja was that he had a black gi and got knocked out. Yeah, just all the crap martial arts. But there we go, mate. As with your other comments, good points. Just a lot of that's a reason why I made my video, and that's a reason why I'm trying. I think I've said it before. It doesn't benefit me to to make these videos, because you know, if anything, you lose viewers, because people, you know, but people come on and they go, oh, he's one of those people who like defends these no-touch martial arts, and they just go, well, that's fine. I've been here for 10 years doing my channel. I don't care much about views. I mean, I've only just now got 10,000 views, which I'll be celebrating soon. 10,000 viewers. But, you know, in 10 years, that's actually abysmal. There's channels that came the other day and they've got like 20-something thousand, and they use those like algorithms and stuff to boost their, you know, those boost things you buy into. I don't know, but anyway, the long and short of it is that's a really good comment. And yeah, I mean, not to bully poor old martial arts journey, but he made a recent video about trying to Mandalorian Patriot, it's me trying to fight like Hatsumi Soki won't happen. My version of Bujinkan when I get to that level will also be slightly different. I remember that one. Yeah, Mandalorian Patriot. Yeah, man. Martial Arts Journey's recent video where he tries to get like Aikido to work, and he's doing the basic like Sankyo, the Sankyo lock, and he's doing the whatever the outside wrist throw. They call it Omota Gyaku in Bujinkan. But man, honestly, I gave Rojas more credibility until I saw that video, because like, as much as his critical view on Bujinkan was slamming on Bujinkan, his 15 years of Aikido, he must have had his eyes closed. Because I tell you what, if you're comparing the two, if you're comparing his Aikido knowledge to like white or yellow belt Bujinkan or traditional jiu-jitsu, one of the first lessons you learn in Bujinkan when it comes to locks is to keep them on your body. Yeah, and that's why I can only assume that Rojas must know this. And he purposely doesn't do it for views, to like purposely make his Aikido look worse. I don't know, because I can't believe, I've said it before, that someone who trained Aikido for 15 years doesn't know that your locks are better when you keep them onto your body. And he does it with the Sankyo and the other one, and he demonstrates his version and it's crap. And then the jiu-jitsu instructor quickly gets it and puts it close to his body and does it so that there's no hole to escape out of. And then he's like, oh, amazing. And it's funny because if you go to the comments in his video, the comments, every single comments, you know, it's great to see these traditional martial arts pressure tested. It's great to see real versions of these techniques. It's great to see, and all these hundreds of people are saying this, and I'm there laughing, going, I just want to insert a video here saying, guys, this is like white or yellow belt level Bujinkan. That, you know, traditional jiu-jitsu, you guys were just tearing it a second ago and saying how fake and crap it is and how great Rojas is now. Well, what he's just done there, the stuff that worked, those 3 techniques that worked, are literally like white and yellow belt Bujinkans. The first thing you learn when you do the Omotogyaku, you put it on your body. When you do this Hongyaku, you put it on your body. Sankyo, you bring it to your body, and you turn with the body. Oh man, I just pissed myself laughing, and it just goes to show, if what you're trying to sell people, you package it with the narrative, that's the modern narrative that everyone's drinking, everyone's eating it up, num num num, with that spoon of Cocoa Pops, then they just swallow it down. But I tell you what, if tomorrow I posted a jiu-jitsu video where I'm like real jiu-jitsu locks, and I just did the locks just like that jiu-jitsu instructor did on my body, and like that, people would go on it, those same people would go on it and go, oh, that doesn't work, that Bujinkan, that's fake, that's crap, that doesn't work. And yet in the video before they were saying, oh, it's great to see these traditional moves modified so they actually work. and you know what, one of the best channels out there at the moment, is the Wolfman. The Wolfman, well, not ex, but the older MMA guy, one of the better channels out there now for speaking his mind on these sorts of things. Is that it must just be because most of these people commenting like are actually, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, 20 or whatever. There's nothing wrong with being that age, and just don't have any actual like real experience of martial arts yet, you know, which is fine. But they just don't be ignorant, you know, that's all, because you won't learn, you know. So that's why I do like that Wolfman and his channel, because he's come forward, and finally you've got someone who's a traditional martial arts guy and has been for years, but he's done all the freaking contact stuff, all the old K1, all the MMA, and he's saying, no, Aikido does work, this does work, the traditional arts do work, I've done this, I've done that. And he's you know, and you can't be, you can't disagree with the guy, because he's done it, and you and I, like, haven't, you know. And but it's great to see finally someone has come forward, and they're tired of people who don't know that much just sticking to a modern narrative and coming forward and telling you what you should believe and what you shouldn't believe based on, they don't know, based on stuff. And there's about 5 or 6 core channels that are doing it. It's like well, probably loads more, but there's this core narrative, and the reason they're doing it is because it's a safe narrative. 1, they don't know, but 2, it's safe. There's a safe narrative at the moment, is that traditional martial arts are shit, a bit of MMA and kickboxing and whatever, and a bit of sparring is not shit, and if you do that, you get hundreds of views. If you start defending any other things, if you start talking about Steven Seagal ever being good at martial arts or anything like that, you get flamed. It's all fake. But all these people doing the flaming fake, and they're not all fake or whatever, I don't know, because there's so many, but some of them are being a bit ignorant, and perhaps it's not their field. A lot of them are just misleading people. Should, you know, give people their chance, you know, to learn. Anyway, I'm gassing on. Let's have a look. What have we got? Dudes, there's so many comments, and they're pretty much, maybe that's why the video got some good views, I don't know. There's so many comments, and it's the same. Oh, Oh, Bite Marks has a good point here. He says, nicely said, I find these days that there are many martial arts webmasters trolling the internet looking for badly put together videos of badly done techniques and then claiming that the style or techniques are useless. People often forget that 90% of these videos are demonstrations, that they are clips from masters teaching a technique to their class beginners or low-level adepts. If they do them at speed, you would learn nothing because you wouldn't see anything. You'd miss it. It goes on. Yeah. He's going on, if a real fight's over in like 20 seconds, couple of seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. Anything longer is not fighting, it's sparring. Kung Fu, karate, and striking arts can be dangerous if you open your full toolbox. I'm not going to spar against an attacker with a knife. I'm going to poke his eyes out, break his arms, and punch him in the throat using real techniques. Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, well, this I've talked about quite a lot on... Sorry. Ugh. Sorry, guys. Chest. Like I said, flu. I've already had my COVID jabs, though, so don't worry. Yeah, nicely said, man. I've talked about this, and I'm so tired of these, like, view grabbing channels that expose. The thing is, we don't need. They're fostering and feeding. I don't know who. Like, the majority of us don't need some guy in his bedroom to tell us that a clip on martial arts is bad, and then try and force feed us their narrative of like, oh, Aikido's crap, or Bujinkan's crap, or Krav Maga's crap, because I'm in my bedroom and I did some sparring the other day and I don't know anything about those martial arts. It's just like, well, you know, at the end of the day, you've got professionals out there. You've got the Wolfman, sorry. You've got the old Wolfman. You've got a lot of MMA fighters. You've got other people. You've got nobodies like me as well, who at least are out there policing for the last 11 years. You've got people like that, them, and to a lesser extent me. But from the street point of view, I've got a decent opinion, because 11 years is a long time for me anyway, because I'm still relatively young. But you know, you've got people like them and me saying, no, don't be so hasty. These things have, you know, these traditional things have a place. We've trained them, we've had a go, and they're worth you trying. Don't be so ignorant. You know, and basing it on actual stuff. You know, the Wolfman's basing it on all his years of ring experience. I'm basing, you know, what I tell you guys on my martial arts experience, but also, which isn't any ring fighting or anything like that, I'll admit, but also 11 years of freaking real on the streets use of it, and then you've got people coming on those channels and coming to me on whatever and being like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't see you doing any sparring. You know, it's like, bro, like, those are the people who are dangerous. I mean, yeah, fake martial artists are dangerous, but those people are just as dangerous. It makes me laugh. Like, they're as dangerous as the people they're touting, because they're trying to sell people peace of mind, fake peace of mind. They're like, oh, follow my way. You know, do a bit of sparring, buy my merch from the bottom of my channel, and you know, and you'll be all right. You know, and yet that poor kid or that guy might have a jiu-jitsu or judo dojo or something round the corner, you know, where he could train, and now he's not going there because these channels have fed him bullshit. Instead, he's just staying at home playing computer games. You know. I said it, Shinobi LK929 just says thank you with some hands. Oh, yeah, my throat's getting a bit shitty now, guys. Might have to wrap this up. David Bates says, is there regular sparring or pressure testing in Bujinkan? If not, then their claims can't really be tested. Yeah, good point. You know, I think some dojos do the pressure testing. Well, a Shinken waza they call it, I think. So there is usually some kind of pressure testing in every dojo, but in some dojos there isn't, or maybe less. But no, a lot of the martial artists, I'll admit as well, a lot of the guys, because I went to seminars and stuff, a lot of the guys in traditional jiu-jitsu and in Bujinkan, you know, because it's so techniquey, and you'll see it in jiu-jitsu too, BJJ, because it's so techniquey, some of the guys, they can let themselves go a bit, other than, you know, because BJJ, you usually won't see it in like top competition, but you see that, you know, they might get a guy who doesn't look very strong, and then you roll with him and he like twists the shit out of you and beats you. So with the slightly more technical martial arts, you can seem to get away with your condition being slightly lower. Yeah, you know, your actual like cardiovascular and this and the next thing, because you kind of fight in a different way. And people might say, oh well, that's fake and that's bullshit, up until I give the example of traditional jiu-jitsu, BJJ, sorry, up until I give the example of BJJ, and then they have no cause to comment, because I've faced many people in BJJ who are out of condition. You know, they're not physically strong, but they are skillful, and their jiu-jitsu skill carries them through. So, but yeah, I will say that of Bujinkan as well. There are a lot of people, like when I used to train there, because I did the Kung Fu and that at the same time, I used to look around and be like, man, you know, or at least I used to think that maybe I was wrong, but I used to stand there and be like, man, I'll smash this guy before he gets anywhere near me with his ninja freaking skills. I'll just headbutt him, or like palm him in the face, or like hammer fist him down, or like just like tear his sternum, or like gouge his face or something, you know, like, you know, like, you know, and I was thinking in like a crazy kung fu mindset, but you know, yeah, you know, like, or someone grabs me in some lock or something that I didn't know back in the kung fu days, and just like, I just slam them with the bones of my forearm, you know, that I've been like training on like trees, you know, and I've done that as well in real life. Slam someone in the neck with my forearm bone, which was good because it was like a mixture of kung fu and jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It was a jiu-jitsu striking point hit with the kung fu target. It was fun. Knocked him out. Oh, that. Oh, that's another point. That's another point. I was saying before about Rocas's video, about his recent one where he was trying to get all the locks to work, the Aikido locks, and like another thing that I didn't understand why he didn't do in that video is like, the first thing I did when I went to BJJ is I started using all my locks, which are the same ones as in Aikido, very similar, all my Bujinkan locks on the Jiu-Jitsu guides, but I just did it on the floor, like, because we're both immobilized. Like, that's like a lock person's dream. Like, it's actually really hard to do them standing up, because you've got to position the person where their balance is locked, or you're just about to throw them, or like in BJJ you've got to force them into a lock, or in wrestling. But yeah, you know, I found I could do a lot of the traditional locks. But like, so if I was to do a video like Rocas's, where I was getting traditional Aikido locks to work, I would just get them to work from like the clinch. It's not called the clinch, but you know, from the guard. There we go, from the guard, the various guards, whether you're on top or below. That's where I would get mine to work. When I was on my back and people were in front of me, I would just grab the opposite arm and get it in like a gooseneck, like Kimura, and then I'd just go like that. And that would piss them off, and they'd hate that. Sometimes they'd get tapped out, and they'd always go like, rip their arm out sometimes and be like, stop using your traditional jiu-jitsu. Or they'd get on top of me, and I'd use like a grab their arm from here, and I'd use like an outside wrist lock, just to like get them over there, you know, like, because you know, in traditional BJJ you grab people's arm to stop them posting. Well, I've just grabbed them in like a nasty like outside wrist lock instead. So I'm stopping them from posting, and I'm giving them like some pain. And then if I was wanting to be real evil, I can use the reverse one, the uragyaku, or I forget what they call it in Aikido. But yeah, so that was another thing in Rojas. I was like, Rojas, mate, you're with all due respect, you're doing a video on how you can get Aikido locks to work in BJJ. Just do them from the bloody floor where the guy can't move, like all the other locks. Jesus, this guy, we love him, but we hate him. Max. Oh wait. Mandalorian says Aikido Flow is a good channel, and I think I remember him doing that particular technique. Didn't realize I got a martial arts journey tee. Just noticed small things that didn't fit. Didn't realize I got martial arts journey to a tee. Yeah, he did. I'm just gonna shoot if I'm in a real fight. If I really think you're a huge enough threat to my family, sniping is a possibility, and that's why I don't fight. I'm coming home. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. In countries where you've got guns and firearms. Max says we occasionally do randori. I don't think you can get promoted above 5th Q without being able to fight, pretty sure. Shodan test includes Kumite. Max, what martial art is that, Max? Mandalorian Patriot again. I can't remember for sure at Max, but I remember my dojo requires increase the number you have to fight after the first black belt. Yeah, that's cool, guys. Some awesome sparring in your dojos. Rashid's martial arts, Abdul Rashid. Rashid martial arts, my jiu-jitsu instructor gets wrist locks on me all the time when we're rolling. And he says, yes, it happens on the ground. He's also an Aikido guy as well. Yeah. That's the thing, guys. Look, these like a lot of these channels, like, look, no one listens to me. Look, I've been here for 10 years. I've just now got 10,000 views, 10,000 subscribers. 10 years. That's 1,000 a year. It's terrible for a YouTube channel, but these guys, these guys want to sell you. I don't know what they're trying to sell you, man. I don't know why they're doing it. I think it's just because they don't know, or they want to sell you views. I really don't know. But I don't know. I had a point. Some guys come up here. Max, it's Brian Bujinkan Dojo in UK. I was wrong. It's not 5th Q. It's 3rd Q. The BDD syllabus. The student cannot move forward from this grade until each becomes an effective and skilled fighter. It's Brian Bujinkan Dojo. Max, it's Brian Bujinkan Dojo in UK. Max, what Brian? Do you mean Brian Duckers? I used to train at Brian Duckers' dojo in the Wirral in the UK. Bujinkan there. Are you training at that dojo? Because I used to train there. Brian gave me my black belt, actually. Oh, Brian McCarthy. Okay. The name rings a bell, actually. Mine's the Yamakunu Dojo. Who says? Mandalorian, mine's the Yamaneko Dojo in AZ. Glad to see a Bushi bro. Brian McCarthy. That name's really... Is he the Scottish guy? Or Irish? I'm sure I went to one of his seminars, actually. Back in the day. Irish. Do you know what? I'm pretty sure he came to Brian's dojo in the Wirral and did it like a seminar. A real good guy, actually. Isn't he like in a military as well? Is he military? I'm pretty sure he's military. You can always tell the military guys. Like Norman Smithers is one of the guys in the UK. Real nice guy. He's ex-French Foreign Legion. And that's another thing. Look, you know, like there's these channels out there like McDojo. what's he called? And he's a big channel actually. You know, you always don't want to sort of upset that guy because he'll end up digging into your freaking whole life and destroying you online. But that McDojo Life channel, that doesn't do any techniques, but just kind of. But I think he's got quite good credentials. I've never seen him do any like techniques, but I'm sure he can. I'm sure he's like a jiu-jitsu guy. But yeah, he doesn't know. I said to him once, I messaged him and I said, man, because he destroyed Bujinkan as well. And I said, man, you don't know anything about Bujinkan. Like, the stuff you're talking, it's just literally for views. They've got to troll some views. They just have to troll for views. Like, and it's a shame because they're like detracting a lot of like people from making their own mind up. Like, you know what? I don't know about you guys, but back in the day, you used to make your own mind up about shit. You used to turn up. Now I'm on like groups of various stuff online. You guys are probably like I used to paint little soldiers. I'm on like a Warhammer group. I'm on all sorts of groups and comic groups. And like the amount of people who like pitch up on these groups, like they're obviously younger, and they don't do anything without like they need to ask about it. That's just fine. I mean, we're all like that. We all learn, but you know, it's just like, you know, but it kind of worries me because they don't experience anything or they don't try. They just immediately ask straight away. They're like, oh, how do I glue this thing together? And sometimes you're there like smacking your head going, get the glue and give it a try. And if you can't do it, come back. Oh, do you guys have any like advice about how I should start painting? You know, like, or start doing anything. And it's like, well, back in the day, you just maybe asked a couple of your mates. They didn't know what the hell you were talking about, and you just gave it a go. You know, same goes for martial arts. You know, we don't need a lot of these channels to tell us like something shit, or show us a clip of a little bit of something and try and detract us. I mean, it doesn't matter for me anymore. It probably doesn't matter for you guys anymore. It doesn't matter for Abdul Rashid, good old Abdul. I've known him for years. It doesn't matter for us because we've gotten like older, a bit older now. Some of you guys are older than me, in the martial arts longer than me, I'm sure. I'm 34. I've been doing the martial arts since I was, and when I say doing, okay, I've been doing martial arts since I was 5, okay? But I've been doing martial arts since I was 15. So that's I've spoken about this in the past before, is that since I was 15, every day or every other day of my life, with very few gaps, I've been training martial arts. Qigong, Kung Fu, Iron Palm, Jiu-Jitsu, Sanshin Kata, Karate, forms, not a lot of forms, katas, weapons, strength training, endurance training, toughness training, 72 secret arts of the Shaolin, grip, you name it, bodybuilding, muscle training, endurance training. So that's what martial arts is for me. And I've been doing that since I was 15, now 34. That's why you'll see people ask me on here, oh, how long have you been doing martial arts? Lots of people like throwing years and numbers. Well, I could say I've been doing martial arts since I was 5, because when I was 5, I started doing Taekwondo. I did that regularly. I then moved and I started doing Shotokan, and I went to that regularly. But I only, for my credentials or whatever, I only put when I personally started to take responsibility for my martial arts and when I started training on my own, as well as going to the martial arts gym. That's when I class it. And that comes to 19 years, I think. So that's, I think, yeah. So that's 19 years, take away me from the age of 5 to 13 or 14 or something like that. And hopefully that adds up to 34 or thereabouts. But maths aside, which is probably bad, that's what martial arts is for me. So, but there's another thing you get. You guys, I'm sure you guys have seen it. When you have conversations with people And in the Bujinkan, and they're big with it in the Bujinkan. You get people, and in traditional jiu-jitsu, and in karate and in aikido, I've been training for, you know, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Well, I had a guy on one of my nunchuck videos the other day. He came on and he was like, I've been training the nunchuck since 1970, and fair enough on him. And he was like, and it doesn't this, and it doesn't, and it's all this, and it's all that. It doesn't work, and it's crap, and blah blah blah. And I said, well, that, have you really? If you've been training it since 1970, you should be pretty bloody good with it. So he's kind of trying to make out he'd been training nunchuck for like 40 something years. But what he really meant is he learnt it 40 odd years ago, and maybe he's trained it a little bit. But don't come and talk to me unless you've well, you can, but what I mean is, don't come to me and tell me about how much martial arts training you've been doing unless you've been doing it regularly. I don't, I'm sure you guys are the same, but we don't care. I don't care if someone's says, oh, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 50 years. Well, have you? How much actual training have you been doing? Because how many years you say you've been doing something, if you've been doing it once a week or once a month or something like that, it's not the same as someone who's been doing it every day, every other day, da da da. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm ranting now about that, but yeah, that's a big thing in the martial arts world that people need to like chill out about, and that's another reason. That's another reason why, like fight martial arts, like boxing and kickboxing, and all those things. That's another reason why a lot of the times those people kick the asses of a lot of like traditional martial artists sometimes, or they give them a good run for their money when there's a disparity in training. Like there's a traditional guy who's like, I've been training for like 20 years, and he trains like some kickboxer guy who's been training for like 5 or 6 years, but with that combat training, that sport ring training, I know from our MMA club, but you should know anyway, you put a lot of effort in for that stuff. You've got to get your cardio up, you've got to go, you're training like 4 or 5 days a week, bang, 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 for like weeks and weeks and weeks on end, if you're, say, getting ready for a fight or something like that, and then afterwards there's a bit of a lull and then it builds up again. So those guys are doing a lot of training. So comparatively, they may have only trained for a couple of years, but in hours, that's what we're talking about, you guys. And I think Max came up and said he's been training for 32 years with military deployment gaps. Thank you for your service, Max. But yeah, hours are what matter, not years. so sorry, excuse me, this bloody flu. So that's why I say whenever I talk about it, I could claim I've trained for 20 something years, but I only ever say, oh, I've trained for about 19, because that's when I took control of my own personal training, when I was 15, 13, 14 or 15, I can't remember now, and I started training my martial arts regularly, supplementing it at home with other things, and it's continued from there. Anyway, I don't know why I ranted on about that, sorry. Let's see what we got. Max does BJJ and Muay Thai, that's awesome, bro. You see, and that's the thing, like Max, you've got a guy here who's been training for anyone who wants to come and flame. No one's going to be listening who would flame, but you've got a guy here who's 32 years training martial arts. He trains Bujinkan, he does BJJ, he does Muay Thai. What benefit is it of Max to say, oh yeah, this BJJ stuff works and it's useful, if it's complete fake and crap? And that's exactly what I was trying to say in my video. Like, I've got no benefit. If I choose something that everyone thinks is kooky, and I say, oh no, actually it works, it's all right, it's literally no benefit to me. Like, it's not going to make me more popular. It's literally not going to help me at all. You know, if I'm after views, if I'm after popularity, if I'm after money, you know, it was a safer bet. And in life, it's just a safer bet to just deny it and be like, nah, it's crap, whatever, and join the common narrative. But you've got people, military people, Norman Smithers, ex-French Foreign Legion, police, me, police. You got all sorts of people, military, police, pardon me, doorman, stuff like that. You've got these people coming, and these are guys who, I mean, maybe it's because they've always done these arts, because back in the day there wasn't really MMA, but there was still kickboxing and boxing and karate, and you know, karate not so much, because that's like a traditional art, but you know what I mean. Those things are there, and you've got these core of old guys or older guys who's still coming here like you guys and me and saying this stuff works. It's got a place in society. And then you've got this modern narrative of people saying, oh no, it's garbage, it's all a fallacy, it's all a lie. And I just don't understand why. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Mandalorian Pager, Shihan Jeffrey Pranta, Yamanenko Dojo is former military and DEA, same whistleblower who made us aware of Operation Fast and Furious. Still does civilian combatives as well, if I'm not mistaken. That's awesome. As to iron body training, did so for my fingers, as my natural reactions to claw, didn't want my fingers broken. Got into martial arts for basic practicality. Nice. Max says he trained 32 years with deployment gaps. Mandalorian Patriot, nice, far above me, just started officially. I have about 10 years of experience from having to deal with people trying to kill me with rocks and sticks, etc., and self-training. Thanks for your service. Mandalorian Patriot, rocks and sticks. What's that on? Is that what it was? What's that? Riot training or something? Yeah, riots, real riots. Real riots are a gas, aren't they? They're a real laugh. Yeah. Last New Year, I was in a riot, real riot, in a suburb with probably, it was only about 50, 60 people, but you're talking a suburban street, you know, a small closed-in street, so it's a lot of people for a street like that, and they were bombing like two houses, like bombing each other, with, not bombs, but with bricks and rocks and all sorts of shit. And yeah, and we were in the middle of that with the shields and stuff. Oh, the shields. Yeah. I don't even have the more advanced like frontline riot training, but they let me on the front line just because they, you know, they just knew how much I wanted to be there. And they conceded. I was like at the front. They were like, we need people, and I'm there with the shield and the baton. I'm like shaking like this, like, let me in. Yeah, because yeah, it annoys me when people riot. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, we had just held the line. It was a long time. It was a freaking long shift. It was a full it was a full 10-hour shift, and then it was another 9 hours on the riot line, which is mainly uneventful, as it always is, with a little bit of action, and then uneventful because people don't want to get hurt, and they stone each other a bit, and one person gets hurt, and then it breaks, and you know, much like how medieval combat really used to be, if we believe the anecdotes. Oh, Mandalorian Patriot was treated like a dog in the Middle East when I was a teen. Lots of real bad bullying. Even being lassoed. Oh, no, shit, man. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. See, you just don't know people's lives. You don't know the stories. The things they have to put up with. It's crazy. So, yeah. Poor old Mandalorian Patriot. PR brothers, how do you think Andre the Giant would do in the UFC? Oh man, Remember back in the day, UFC like 1 and 2 and stuff, where there wasn't any weight categories. You had those sumos. There was a couple of sumos in there. There were. I think it was a Afro. Is it Afro American, Afro Caribbean? How do you guys say it? Apologies. Anyway, he's a black American guy. And he was fighting. I remember he was fighting a white. Well, it doesn't matter about his color, but he was fighting a Kempo karate guy. Yeah, I remember that. That was cool. And that Kempo karate guy, I could see by his hands. I was like, that guy does proper like iron palm conditioning. He does the proper conditioning. And the first thing he did, you can watch the fight, is he did a palm to the top of this guy's head like this, like a sweeping palm, bang. And it stunned the guy and he fell to his knees. So that was good. That was a good application of like old style kung fu. And I mean, the weight disparity between those guys was huge. But it just goes to show you that the whole Goju principle, the hard and soft, the striking, and the conditioning, it can work. And sometimes it can be sometimes it can be sometimes it can be the ace in the hole. Here's an interesting comment here. Monopoly Man, Kung Fu doesn't work. Oh, Monopoly Man, you're a bad man. Some people, and PR brothers, yeah, some people have like thunder palms. Kung Fu works, Monopoly Man. Because if Kung Fu doesn't work, Monopoly Man, Kung Fu doesn't work. But Monopoly Man, here's a parrot. He's qualified it with how. Okay, well, Monopoly Man, here's a paradigm for you, or like a thing. If Kung Fu doesn't work, then how have I survived 11 years of frontline policing and used Kung Fu stuff? And Mantis Kung Fu, there's some good Mantis Kung Fu stuff. And in what way Kung Fu doesn't work, and what bits, and in what bits of Kung Fu are you talking about? This is very interesting. Monopoly Man, because you have a badge of the gun. Okay. Good points, but what about the 7 years of my policing in the UK when I didn't have a gun? So how did I survive that then? So I just had to cuff and spray and baton. I never used my spray. Well, Monopoly Man. So Monopoly Man, it's not effective in a real fight. Now, Monopoly Man's got a great point. He's got a great point. Because Monopoly Man is what I was talking about before. Is that Monopoly Man, here you have in front of you someone who's done martial arts for his entire life and is an 11-year frontline serving policeman in 2 different countries. So I didn't have a gun for 7 years. And in the UK, like, everyone wanted to fight you, and you were single crewed. So I'm telling you, I've used it and it works. Well, at least, even at the lowest level. Okay, Kung Fu doesn't work, Monopoly Man, but punching a bag, say a boxing bag, that's Kung Fu. Punching a boxing bag of beans, that's Kung Fu. Punching a freaking Everlast bag it's Kung Fu. You know, conditioning your forearms. Just even if you just tap them on a tree. Well, it is Kung Fu. No, it's Kung Fu. If you're doing it in the Chinese methodology, it's Kung Fu. Kung Fu is just, you can Kung Fu anything. A Kung Fu can be my painting. As the guy said before, if I paint really well, that can be Kung Fu. It's just a Chinese methodology. So what I'm saying to you is, like, there's Kung Fu skills which involve gripping, which involve twisting. You obviously don't understand. It involves strengthening your head, strengthening your body, building your muscles. And even those silly skills I've used. So even those skills I've used. So like, for instance, I'll give you an example. So I trained a lot of Kung Fu gripping grip strength training. I've got it all over my site. And one day a guy was going to jump off a bridge, and I had to grip him and hold him by the arm, and I had to hold him for like half an hour. and the guy was naked, and I had to hold him until he got hypothermia on the bridge, on the edge of this bridge overhanging the river in Chester. And that was Kung Fu. Because if I hadn't trained my Kung Fu, the guy would have slipped out of my hand, he would have gone into the water and died. So forgive me when I say it, but people like you come along and say Kung Fu doesn't work. You don't understand Kung Fu. You just don't understand it. Because if I stand there and I punch a sandbag to condition my knuckles, that's Kung Fu. And then if I use that to punch a person, well, that works, because if it works in boxing, it works. Yes, it is Kung Fu, bro. It is. I'll tell you why it's Kung Fu, because it's Kung Fu because I say it's Kung Fu. Because that's Kung Fu. Go ask anyone, because you don't know Kung Fu. I've been training Kung Fu since I was 15. So yeah, bro, you don't know. You don't know. But good points anyway. Monopoly Man, Eastern boxing. Yeah, well, that's fine, bro. That's your opinion. Monopoly Man, what's your most effective strike? Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. Any kind of strike to the neck's pretty good. I remember I was once, so this, again, his Kung Fu doesn't work. And you said wrist lock doesn't work either. So I was facing a guy in a doorway, and he was about to punch me in the face. So I grabbed his wrist and I did a wrist lock on it, and went underneath and locked him. And then I hit him in the neck with my forearm in the neck and stunned him and made him fall on the floor. Now that was in real life, but Kung Fu doesn't work, and wrist locks don't work, according to Monopoly Man. But there again, guys, this is the problem with the internet. Like, unless Monopoly Man wants to educate us more on his martial arts experience. No, Monopoly Man, you can't backtrack. You didn't say that. Unless Monopoly Man wants to educate us on his martial arts experience, which we're all ready to listen to. The problem with the internet is you've got people like Monopoly Man, and I can only generalize Monopoly Man, so I'm apologizing, who come on and tell you what does and doesn't work, when you got someone sitting in front of you with the experience that it does. So unless Monopoly Man, there could be a paradigm where we have these alternate lives where we both have experience, and that's fine, because everyone has experiences. But the chances of you and I having the same experience are not, well, if you're educated, then you would know. The chances of me and I having the same experiences are not possible. It's going to be slim. We might have similar ones. So yeah, you just said Kung Fu doesn't work. I've just said it does. I said it's multifaceted. It's not just what you think it is. It's not just like, I don't know, what you've seen on TV, a bit of kicking and punching. You said locks don't work. I've already given you, sorry, I got the flu. I've already given you one example of where I used a lock in real life on an actual person who was gonna punch me in the face in his doorway, screaming and shouting, and was gonna try and attack my colleague as well. So I've given you that. So, and you said, oh, well, what lock was it? It was Sankyo from Aikido. But Sankyo from Aikido is the same as the lock in Kung Fu. It's the same. It's the same lock. Oh, now Monopoly Man's going to go on Aikido. Well, if you want to go down that track, Aikido's just jiu-jitsu. So I refer to the lock being called Sankyo in Aikido. So in that regard, and you're going to hate this, Monopoly Man, you could say, yes, Aikido is effective, because I used an Aikido lock against a real person who was going to punch me in the face. Well, Monopoly Man knows everything. But where's your real life experience then, Monopoly Man? Well, that's fine, Monopoly Man, but where's your real life evidence? Where's your real life experience? This is good. I like Monopoly Man. But where, you know, because again, like I'm saying with this internet thing, I'm a real person who's used it in real life, like out there in the big bad world where someone was actually trying to hurt me. And I'm saying, oh shit, it actually worked. I used it. It's the same as the Kung Fu version. The Chinna, the Kung Fu grip. It's the same lock. It's the same as the Jiu-Jitsu version. Well, no, I'm telling you. Where's yours? I've just told you. Weapon Man's on there. Monopoly Man. So yeah, so Monopoly Man is a good example of what we've been talking about, which is like this internet narrative of people whose opinion is right, but everyone can have an opinion. People whose opinion is right, even in the face of like actual experience. You know, so someone comes and they just say, "Oh, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work." It doesn't work. And then I'm like, "Oh, hold on a second. I used it the other day. Give it a try." No, Aikido's crap. It doesn't work. Well, I used an Aikido lock on a real person, in real life. They were gonna punch me in the face. There. Used an Aikido lock. So, Monopoly Man. This guy's a comic. This guy's a comedian. Flight attendants have one, please. How many times did you actually use this kung fu on people who want to hurt you for real? Well, I've just given you an example, man. What do you do, Monopoly Man? Come on, dish the beans. Come on, Monopoly Man. I mean, Taekwondo kicks are all right. I mean, you're sticking up for Taekwondo. I mean, the distancing in Taekwondo is a lot of times tricksy because it's a sport-based kicking art. It's good. Teaches some awesome kicks, but if you're gonna stick up for Taekwondo, you can't go dissing on like Kung Fu. It's just the same, kicking. But anyway, everyone, look, we're waiting to see, because at the moment Weapon Man's telling us what doesn't work, okay, which is cool, and I'm saying, in my opinion, I think he's wrong, and I've given some examples of when I used the lock and when I used Kung Fu, and I've used it. I just gave them, but he's saying, oh, air hostesses have a tougher job than cops, which is fine, maybe they do, but let's see what does Monopoly Man do, everyone. Yeah, judo's an awesome martial arts, but jiu-jitsu based. Oh no, Monopoly Man, you're not a karate fanboy, are you? And you know why you failed as well? If you are, you're very short-sighted, because you've come on a channel which is old-style, traditional Japanese and Chinese martial arts training. So this isn't a 2-year-old karate's better than Kung Fu flame fest. You know, this is a channel with the last 10 years of training karate and Kung Fu, and the link back from karate to Kung Fu in a traditional way. Like, literally, if you've come on here to do that, you are literally the biggest loser on planet Earth. One of the biggest losers. But we're still waiting. We're still waiting to see what Monopoly Man's job is. Come on, Monopoly Man. I'm running out of battery on my phone. I mean, you better be like a secret agent or something, bro. This is good. This is fun. No, come on, Monopoly Man. Not that. We're waiting. We're waiting. What's your job? Again, this is
This is good. This is a good example of the online internet like culture of like bullshittery, where you get these people that come up and they just say things and they make claims. Um, but we're still listening, Monopoly Man. Come on, I'm running out of battery on my phone. This is your chance. You've got all our ears. We're all listening. We just want to hear what job you do. I'll not be here. And all the other guys are saying, good points by the other guys. Taekwondo's good against other stars. Yeah, Taekwondo's got some awesome kicks. Been seeing them used in MMA quite a bit. Monopoly Man, don't know where he's talking about. You have no experience, no real life confrontation with opponent who's much larger or bigger. You'd literally get handled by a gypsy boxer in the street. Monopoly Man, I'm still waiting, bro. I don't know who he's even talking to now, but we're waiting. Yeah, well, of course he's a troll. Oh, it's a traveller. Oh. Monopoly Man. Now he's brought the poor travellers into it. Leave the travellers alone. Have you ever read Bare Knuckle, King of the Gypsies by Bartley Gorman? It's an awesome book. Leave the travellers out of this. They get enough stick. And anyway, in Chester, where I used to, just outside of Ellesmere Port, was a big traveller camp. I used to deal with a lot of travellers, you know. Well, travellers aren't magical. They're not. What do you think they are? They're just people. They do some boxing. This guy, what was this guy on? Anyway, mate, we're waiting to hear what your job is, bro. What do you do? Because you're giving everyone your opinion of what works and what doesn't work and what martial arts. I've given you examples of like my examples, but we're waiting to hear what job you do. Come on, bro. No. We're waiting. All you have to do to tell us. Yeah, you do online. This is online martial arts. That's great. Yeah, that's great. I'd be more animated, but I've got the flu. So, but anyway, guys, there we go. Monopoly Man. Yeah. Great, bro. But anyway, that's good, guys, because I'm glad Monopoly Man came on because he's come and basically shown like the kind of ignorant, you know, he's the sort of guy who, pardon me, who sort of those videos that we're talking about appeal to. He's got one idea, he doesn't understand fully, he's probably not trained enough years to know much about anything, or he's just been ignorant a lot of his life. I don't know. I don't want to make too much judgments on the guy. He's probably a kid or a teenager or something. And, you know, he's the sort of guy who will go and enjoy watching, you know, martial arts breakdown of some crap video that he doesn't even know. Mandalorian Patriot, you gotta get to bed, night security. Yeah, cool, Mandalorian Patriot. Thanks a lot, bro. Anyway. So, PR Brothers, you ever watch Jerry Lou? No, I haven't seen Jerry Lou. I think I'm probably running out of battery soon. But yeah, anyway, to Monopoly Man, he says, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm spreading false confidence. Well, not really, bro. I've been on here for 10 years, so not that that means anything, but I think if I was trying to be anything, I would have been that in 10 years. And yeah, again, you've given us examples of your opinion, I've told you mine. I've given actual real world examples, but obviously I don't have footage, and and you haven't told us. So this is the last we're gonna talk to you, but you haven't told us what you do, and you haven't even told us like what martial art, and you're pretty hard to diss on like the jobs that people do, but unless you do some great job that's like secret agent or something, or like military or something, you know. But anyway, that's enough of Kung Fu Man, whatever, Monopoly Man. But it's good because I haven't had a good troll in a while. I tell you what, Monopoly Man, if you want to continue trolling, I've got loads of videos you can troll on, so you can have fun with that. But from one of the other comments about watching fight commentary, it's not even a good troll from Monopoly Man, no. Fight commentary breakdowns, no. Monopoly Man's probably eaten more pies than he's eaten people in the ring, I would have suggested. Monopoly Man, like everyone's like actually, well, you're kind of doing a good thing because everyone's kind of laughing at your stuff, so it's all right. But no one's actually getting like upset or annoyed by it. Who's your favorite current UFC fighter? Oh man, I was a bit old school with the UFC fighters, like, you know, Matt Hughes and old Captain America, Randy Couture. You know, well, there we go, Monopoly Man. If I'm interesting, then I'm winning part of the way. So, yeah, I was a bit old school with my UFC fighters. When it went pay-per-view, I kind of stopped following it. I recently liked, I'm trying to think. Who's the Brazilian guy who broke his leg? Anderson Silva. There we go. Anderson Silva. Yeah, I was pretty good on Anderson Silva. And I actually met Jojana, what's her name? Jojana Jurajcic, or I can't pronounce her surname, the Polish lady. I actually met her at UFC 1, I think it was 163. Was it 163? When I went to that in Melbourne. When Holly Holm fought Ronda Rousey and beat Ronda Rousey, yeah. I was actually, me and my missus went to that one. That was a good one, that. Yeah, my missus really liked Ronda Rousey and like idolized her, and her dreams just got shattered when Ronda Rousey got like knocked out. But yeah, Ronda Rousey, you know, she got trapped in, you know, she got like psychologically beaten because she got, you know, I noticed they do it in UFC. It's like if someone's good on the ground, they kind of almost put this thing out of like, you know, unless you can beat me standing up, you're not good enough, you know. so you know, they kind of trapped her in that circumstance, didn't they? She should have stuck to what she does best. But yeah, oh man, and so she tried to outbox Holly Holm, and Holly Holm's boxing is like immense, and she's got a big boxing background. So it was just madness, you know. It'd be like me trying to outbox a gypsy boxer. That one's for Monopoly Man. Trying to outbox a gypsy boxer with boxing. You know. So yeah, she got her ass handed to her on a plate. Poor girl. Sensei Emmett says he knows quite a few cops and close protection people, bouncers. They have respect for other martial arts and understand everything is effective at the right time. I'd agree. Weapon Man says psychology has a lot to do with it. Still like Rhonda to have been into Wonder Boy. What? Oh no. Oh, Weapon Man's been into Wonder Boy. Yeah. Well, he's awesome because he's awesome because obviously he's big on, he's quite a big advocate for like conditioning, and his dad used to do conditioning and stuff. So I keep meaning to do like some videos, sort of reaching out to old Wonder Boy, but not because I don't think obviously he would talk to me, but you know, just some videos, you know, of like looking at some of the stuff that he does. And you know, he always talks a lot about like how the conditioning is like made him, you know, made his breakage is less during the fights and stuff like that. So but anyway, guys, awesome chats with you. Awesome chats with you all. Even Monopoly Man, we love Monopoly Man. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200, Monopoly Man. Straight to jail. But my voice is getting sore now from this freaking flu that I've got. So sorry I haven't been as sort of excited as I usually am. But yeah, my voice is gone. So also I reckon my phone gave me the 10 bar battery warning. So, but thanks everyone. Thanks, do like and subscribe. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for the Patreon guys like Sensei Emmett there who support Patreon. Monopoly Man, we love you. You can also subscribe. You might learn a thing or two. Do some conditioning, train your knuckles. That's all we require to do. No fancy techniques. Just go and hit a sandbag for a bit and your knuckles will be stronger. Yeah. And maybe you can come back next time and teach us some more of your wisdoms. But anyway, thanks a lot, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure speaking to you guys. Abdul, yeah, bro, I've known Abdul for years. Good old Abdul Rashid. He's my little bro. Yeah, mate, we'll have to catch up. Look, I'm at home the next couple of days because I'm off with this damn flu. Yeah. So I'll have to shout you out, bro. But yeah, thanks for stopping by again. Weapon Man, keep up the good work, bro. Please do tag me in the stuff that you do. Enjoyed your nunchuck stuff. You made some good points. Yeah, sorry, terrible. I shouldn't have done a sort of live post feed or something if I can barely talk. But yeah, I think I sounded a bit better earlier on. I think I'm gonna go and hit some whiskey to try and blow this cold away. Yeah, I'm not a big drinker, but a bit of whiskey when you're feeling a bit sick, it's probably not a good idea, but it seems to work the trick. Oh, another thing before I go, I got my small iron palm bag. So I had iron sand. I had iron sand in here, so actual iron sand, so palm of iron sand, the 72 secret arts of Shaolin training technique. And I finally got my iron sand out of this bag, which one of my friends gave me, Nicholas Myers, who I haven't heard from in a while. I hope he's all right. But I finally got a big, proper like Wing Chun wall bag. One of the vinyl ones. The heavy duty ones, and I put the couple of kilos of the sand from here, and I put some more kilos of iron sand. So I've got maybe about an 8 or 9 kilo iron sand bag now to really finally, after all these years, because I've always been using small bags, so finally after all these years I can train palm of iron sand with a nice big sized iron sand bag. It's full of iron stuff. And yeah, so that I'm gonna pop that up. I'll show that to you guys at some point when I get a chance to make a video in between being sick and looking after my son. I've been secluded from him. Thank you, Sensei Emmett, one of the Patreon guys. There was a good chunk of contact on Patreon, and then it's died down over the last month. But I've been looking after my lad, and then I got sick. But we should be all doing our finger tip follow along training anyway, so we're all doing that. So that's fine, and it's ticking over. I've been doing my fingertip training, so I'm just giving people time to do that. But thanks for your support on the Patreon, bro. Thanks for your support on the channel. I probably should have worn a jacket out here. I probably made myself cold, and I'm probably bloody gonna get sicker now. I was just getting better as well. But hey guys, look, thanks for tuning in. If you like this kind of question and answer with the video one, just tell me. We'll do some more, or do whatever, just normal question and answer ones. I don't know, having a bit of a chat. It was good to have old Monopoly Man on here. I think he's gone now. He's got bored. But thanks for the likes. Don't remember to boost those likes and stuff, because it gets the video shared. And we need to come up with an ideas of what I'm going to do for 10,000 views. So, because the channel's finally hit 10,000 views. So, need to come up. What time is it? 11:16. Bloody hell. Been on here for 125 minutes. We need to come up with something to do for the 10,000 views. Finally, 10 years I've been on YouTube, 9 years or whatever. I wasn't really a YouTube channel, I guess. But I guess now I can finally say, after 10 years, that I'm a YouTube channel. Because I've got 10,000 views. I think they consider 5,000 views as like a small channel. 10,000 is also a small channel. But it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, so hit me up about what we can do to celebrate the old 10,000 views. Can we do like maybe a challenge or a competition? We all do something martial artsy. I don't know. Anyway, I'm cold now. Sensei Emmett says Conor McGregor does a great brand of whiskey. Does he now? Might have to look into that. Although the whiskey game's a long game, so. Although I think here in Australia there's some like home brew Australian whiskies that aren't bad. Problem is they're expensive, so yeah. But anyway, okay guys, I think I'm gonna head off now. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Sorry I'm a bit sort of lower than usual, but yeah, I've got this flu. I've been off work for a few days. Just been in bed. And I hate that because I'm like usually active in person. I'm always training, but yeah, sometimes I guess the flus get the better of you. Sir says, thanks for keeping your channel going. I remember a while ago you questioned its usefulness for people. Cheers. Spirit, mind and body, keep up the good work, Brett. Thanks, bro. Yeah, well, you do question the usefulness sometimes. You wonder why, but then whenever I start doing that, I go back to the beginning of why I started the channel, and all I did is I started the channel to just record the conditioning training that I was already doing. That's the only reason I did it, because I used to talk about the training, conditioning and stuff at work, and then and I'd say to people, oh yeah, I've been doing it for years, and I couldn't, when I explained it to them, they were just like, they didn't understand or they didn't believe it, so I was like, well, I've been doing all this training for years. If I don't record it and like, it's as if it never existed, like. I mean, it exists for me, and also when I was starting, if I knew what I knew then and now, it would have helped me loads, and back in that day, this internet was still a bit young, so there wasn't that many channels, or I don't think there's no one doing, like very rare, anyone doing like traditional conditioning and stuff, so yeah. Spirit, mind, and body says knowledge can be found everywhere, but not everyone can recognize it. Yeah, that's true, bro. So yeah, that's why I did the channel. And then it just carried on. Now it became like a bit of a pastime, you know, like, but one thing I always do is I always do more training than I do recording. You know, I don't let's record, I don't do one training session and record. But then that would be obvious, you know, that would be obvious to people. That's, you know, all I wanted to do was preserve the traditional martial art that I was training. If I learned some more stuff, put it out there, you know, have a timeline of the training. Because everyone goes on anecdotes. Sorry, my voice is going, but Weapon Man says he'll check out more of your work. Sir says, don't think he's seen a channel with your style that comes across as genuine. Thank you, sir. I like sir because you can say, thank you, sir. Yeah, I just wanted to record the training. And that's another thing. A lot of the like conditioning training goes on anecdotes, or you've got like pictures of the old masters or something like that. You know, a few pictures of them doing like one strike or something. But there wasn't a lot. There probably is now, but there's not a lot of just a general like freaking timeline where someone can go back and they can be like, oh well, what did this look like? What did this look like? Like, you can go back on my channel, you know. And that's another thing. Part of, if you really train something, you got to be able to keep it up. It's got to be consistent, you know, to prove that it's not a lie. And like, that's